My name's Daniel Harper, and I'm a commercial pilot. Up at 35,000 feet, my world is all about precision, reading the hum of the engines, catching the flicker of a warning light, feeling the subtle shift in the air. You learn to trust your instincts when something feels off, because when you're responsible for 180 lives, there's no room for mistakes. Most flights are routine, a quiet rhythm of checklists and autopilot, but every now and then, the chaos isn't in the cockpit, it's in the cabin. That's exactly what happened on a rainy evening in late October 2024 at Gate B7 in Denver International Airport. I was deadheading, just a passenger in a gray hoodie and jeans, heading to Seattle to pick up my next flight. My ticket had me in 2A, a first-class seat, a small perk of the job. But trouble was already brewing, and it had a name: Margaret Walsh. Margaret was the iron-fisted president of our neighborhood's homeowners association back in Tacoma. She ruled our quiet cul-de-sac like a dictator, wielding bylaws like a sledgehammer. I'd seen her fine people for planting the wrong shrubs or parking an extra car overnight. Out here in the airport, though, she was just another passenger with a loud voice and a chip on her shoulder. I was scrolling through my phone, half listening to the boarding announcements, when her voice cut through the gate area like a foghorn. "This is absurd," she snapped at the gate agent, a guy named Tom who looked like he'd heard it all before. "I'm a Diamond Elite member. I booked first class, and 2A is my seat. Fix this now." Tom's fingers danced over his keyboard, his face a mask of practiced calm. "Ma'am, your ticket is for 3B. Seat 2A is assigned to another passenger who's already checked in." Margaret leaned over the counter, her voice dripping with disdain. "Then unassign them. I need that seat for medical reasons like space. I'm 6 feet 3 inches, and I'll admit the legroom in first class is nice. But Margaret, barely 5 feet 5 inches in her sensible loafers, was clearly bluffing. Tom didn't budge. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't reassign a seat without consent. 3B has plenty of legroom." It was a polite fib, and Margaret's face turned crimson. "This is outrageous. I spend thousands with this airline. Get me your supervisor." I slipped my phone into my pocket as my wife, Claire, texted me. "You won't believe this. Margaret's pushing for an urgent HOA vote tonight on a zoning change. Some developer wants to cram condos into our neighborhood." I typed back, "Guess who's trying to steal my seat right now?" Claire's reply was a single emoji, a head exploding. The supervisor arrived, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, and the argument looped back to square one. Margaret's voice climbed, drawing stares from other passengers. I stayed quiet, just another guy in a hoodie, but I knew how this would end. Gate agents are the unsung warriors of air travel, immune to tantrums, armed with protocol. The supervisor shut her down. "Take 3B, or you're on tomorrow's flight." Defeated, Margaret snatched her boarding pass and shot a glare around the gate, her eyes locking on me for a moment. I met her gaze, expression blank. She didn't know I was the one in 2A, and I wasn't about to advertise it. Boarding started, and I hung back, letting the first-class crowd go ahead. Margaret stormed onto the plane like she owned it, pausing at my row to sneer at the 2A etched on the bulkhead. She huffed and squeezed into 3B, making a show of wrestling her oversized carry-on under the seat. I stowed my bag, buckled up, and opened a dog-eared spy novel. No drinks for May had a flight to command in 12 hours. But my gut was whispering, this isn't over. Margaret wasn't just a seat-stealing nuisance. She was a woman who bent the world to her will, and when it didn't bend, she broke it. As the last passengers shuffled aboard, a man in a glossy suit caught my eye. He looked like he'd stepped out of a bad crime movie. Slick back hair, mirror-polished shoes, and a gold ring on his pinky that screamed, "Trying too hard." His boarding pass was for economy, but he lingered near the forward galley, murmuring into his phone with a tense edge. Then he accidentally bumped into a flight attendant, Lisa, who was organizing her crew bag. His hand, the one with that gaudy ring, darted near her open tote for a split second, smooth as a magician's sleight of hand. "So sorry," he said, flashing a crocodile tear smile. "This call's got me frazzled." Lisa nodded, unfazed, and he vanished into the economy cabin. But I saw it. That wasn't an accident. It was a plant. My mind raced, connecting dots. Claire's texts had mentioned a shady developer tied to Margaret's zoning push. This guy fit the bill, too polished, too calculated. Whatever he slipped into Lisa's bag wasn't a love note. The cabin door closed, and we pushed back from the gate. The engines roared as we taxied, but my stomach churned for reasons beyond the takeoff. Claire texted again, a weather map showing a nasty storm reds and purples right in our path. Looks rough up there. Be safe, she wrote. I replied, we'll skirt it. Standard stuff. But the sky outside was turning an ugly gray. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. Folks, we've got some weather ahead. Seat belts on, please. The plane started to jostle, and the cabin lights flickered. Margaret, in 3B, was live-streaming, whining to her HOA cronies about atrocious service. Then came the call button frantic, insistent from her row. This man can't breathe, she shrieked, fanning her seatmate with a safety card. He's having a heart attack. The crew sprang into action, calm and textbook. A nurse volunteered, and they laid the man in the aisle. But Margaret was in the way, filming and spewing nonsense about the airline's incompetence. Something felt staged. The man's pallor looked off, like bad makeup. The timing storm, emergency, Margaret's theatrics was too perfect. The plane lurched, dropping sharply. A service card in the galley broke free, barreling down the aisle toward a kid who'd unbuckled to grab a toy. I didn't think I moved, slamming my shoulder into the cart and pinning it against the bulkhead. The kid's mom sobbed her thanks as I buckled him back in. Stay put, buddy, I said, my voice rough. The captain came on again. Due to a medical emergency and worsening weather, we're diverting to Seattle. We'll be on the ground in 30 minutes. I checked the flight map. Seattle was our home airport, 20 minutes from Claire, and perfectly timed for Margaret's HOA vote. The pieces clicked. The fake medical crisis, the storm, the diversion, it was all engineered to get Margaret to that meeting. Then I heard a faint metallic click from an overhead bin, row 3, right side. It wasn't the solid clunk of a secure latch. In turbulence like this, an unlatched bin was a missile waiting to happen. I unbuckled, steadied myself, and approached the lead flight attendant, Rachel, in the galley. The bin at row 3, right side, I whispered. The latch sounds loose. Rachel's eyes sharpened. She checked it, and her face paled. It was Lisa's toe, the one the slick guy had tampered with. She slammed the bin shut, ensuring it locked, and grabbed the interphone. Possible device, forward overhead, she said, her voice low but urgent. My heart pounded. This wasn't a tracking device. It was something dangerous. The plane shuddered as we descended through the storm, rain hammering the windows. Rachel's team moved like clockwork, relocating the bag to the rear galley, the least risk bomb location. A guy in economy, seat 14C, caught my eye. He was too calm, his eyes locked on the bag. Federal Air Marshal, no doubt. Margaret, oblivious, kept streaming. The crew's panicking, moving bags in a storm. Total chaos. The irony was sickening. She was the chaos. We landed hard, tires gripping wet tarmac. Emergency lights flashed outside, police, fire trucks, and ambulance. We taxied to a remote gate, far from the terminal. The captain's voice was ice. Everyone stay seated. But the slick guy bolted, shoving past Lisa with a lame connection excuse. The air marshal was on him in seconds, commanding him to stop. I stepped into the aisle, bag in hand, ready to block. The guy spun, pulling a thin, vicious knife. Stay back, he snarled. I didn't hesitate. I swung my rollerboard, catching his wrist with a crack. The knife skittered across the jet bridge. The marshal and 2 cops swarmed, cuffing him as he screamed at Margaret. This was your plan. Her face collapsed, her phone still recording her downfall. TSA and FBI boarded, and I gave Agent Carter a detailed account. The fixer's plant, the bin's click, everything. Claire's texts flooded in damning evidence. A photo from our neighbor Tom's security camera showed Margaret with the fixer that morning. A catering receipt, paid by the HOA, planned a zoning victory party. A screenshot from the HOA livestream bragged about Margaret's resourceful plan. The device? An RF jammer to disrupt communications during approach, ensuring the diversion. Agent Carter confronted Margaret. Turn off your phone. This is a federal investigation. Margaret wilted, her livestream cut dead. The airline banned her for life, and Carter arrested her for conspiracy and endangering an aircraft. As she was cuffed, the cabin erupted in applause. We deplaned to a lounge for statements. Claire met me outside at midnight, and we drove to the HOA meeting, still raging at the community center. Without Margaret, Her allies crumbled. Tom, our mild-mannered neighbor, led a unanimous vote to oust her. The zoning variance was crushed weeks later, 98-2. The developer's company tanked. The fixer took a plea deal, and Margaret got 10 years. Her house sold at a loss. Our neighborhood bloomed free from her rules, full of tacky gnomes and friendly barbecues. Weeks later, grilling steaks under a Tacoma sunset, Claire handed me an iced tea. "You never said what happened on that jet bridge," she teased. I flipped a steak, the sizzle filling the air. "Just solved a problem," I said. Sometimes, defending home means catching the small things a wrong click, a gut feeling and acting before it's too late. What do you think? Did Margaret deserve her fate, or was she just a pawn in the developer's game? Should airlines ban passengers like her for life, or is that too harsh? Would you have stepped up like Daniel, or stayed out of it? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.